Hello all and welcome back to the Apex Online Racing Hype Energy F1 2018 Leagues. The drivers have had a weekend off and we are back at Suzuka for round 17 of season 16 in this PlayStation 4 Tier 4. If you weren't with us 2 weeks ago in Russia, we saw Slimbo Dude take his second win of the season, showing again the form that he was showing earlier on in the season but has faded slightly, but is showing that he could be a contender in the races to come. But in the main battle that most of you will be interested in, the battle for the championship, it was Jon Palainen who took a third place ahead of Geordie in fourth, meaning the Finn extends his championship lead to 16 points now with just 5 races remaining. Will he be able to stretch his lead out further around this historic circuit, or will Geordie be able to claw it back or maybe even take the lead himself? Qualifying is just getting underway now. If you have forgotten how this session works, it's an 18-minute qualifying session followed by 27 laps of the Suzuka circuit. First appeared in Formula 1 in 1987 and has pretty much been a stalwart of the calendar ever since, missing 2 years in the mid-2000s as Formula 1 decided to go to the Fuji circuit, but it soon returned to what I think many people feel is the Asian home of Formula 1. There's been some classic races here over the years, multiple Senna-Prost battles, the clash at the chicane in 1989 and the clash into turn 1 in 1990. There's also a terrific wet race in 1994, Damon Hill winning round here, and we saw Mika Hakkinen take both his world titles around this circuit in a McLaren, and it's a McLaren who's leading everyone out of the pit lane now. Randy Thompson seeing what the track is like on the super soft tyres. There are 3 different sets of tyres here. It's the super softs, the softs and the mediums. Expect to see drivers either using this red walled tyre or the yellow walled softs in qualifying. As always, your comments are welcome. Use the hashtag AOR Hype on Twitter or feel free to comment on the stream. Where do you think most of the action will take place at this race? It should be fascinating to watch. We see Thompson warming up on his lap now, getting a bit sideways slightly as we'll take you around for a lap of this circuit. One of the longest in Formula 1. Only Japan, Russia and Belgium, I believe, are actually longer than this circuit. So it should be fascinating to watch. See Randy Thompson taking us for a tour through the DRS zone, the only one on this track. Heading up towards the first curve, we see the car coming out of the pit lane, flat out through there and then braking through the second curve. He runs slightly wide. I'd be very surprised if he's the only person to do that through qualifying. Now it's through the S's, all about keeping a nice rhythm going through here. You don't want to be too greedy, just line up for the next bit through the Dunlop curve. Long acceleration, runs off there, that might ruin his lap. Through the Degners, seen many a driver get it wrong through there. Slight lock on and then heading under the crossover up towards the hairpin. Opportunistic chance for overtaking during the race. Slight lock up at the front left, but doesn't have too much of effect on his lap. Then the long right hander leading to the spoon curve. Sebastian Vettel will be able to tell you this isn't the easiest overtaking spot in Formula 1. Does well through there into the second part. Just need to get a good exit as you head back over the track you passed under earlier to one of the most famous corners in Formula 1. The 130R, definitely not the challenge that it used to be, especially in the dry-in modern Formula 1 cars, but you've got to get your braking right for the Casio triangle. Final corner on this track coming up now. Get a good exit and Thompson comes across the line to 129.1. Be very surprised if that's good enough to keep you near the top. And straight away, Geordie sets a 1:28.0. Speaking to the drivers, I'd expect a time in and around the mid to high 1:26s possibly. Definitely get you towards pole position. I think a few drivers are aiming for 1:27s. Seeing quite a mixture of tyre strategies so far here in qualifying. Super soft, softs and mediums being used by quite a few different drivers. As Randy Thompson spun it on what I expected to just be a cool down lap on his way back to the pits. He's got it wrong through the Dunlop curve. If you run wide, it is very easy to get it wrong through there. I'm seeing quite a lot of support in the chat for a new driver to this tier this time. MNT Saab, the Frenchman, driving for Ferrari. He'll be hoping he can help Ferrari get back up in the Constructors' Championship. They have dropped a long way behind Williams now. 132 points off. The leaders are in third place, so he'll be hoping he can help Professional overcome Haas at least, who are currently in second. But you'd have to imagine, barring any chaos, the title is pretty much safe in the hands of Williams. And if only we could say the same for the real world in Formula 1. It's definitely been a struggle in testing for the Grove team. See, Saab is coming around now to finish his lap. What will we be able to do for a first banker lap? So 1:30.1. So it's 9th place so far out of the 14 runners. So it's Joe Breezy, provisional pole position on 1:27.5. Jochen Geordie second, half a second behind, but he is on the soft tyres as opposed to the super softs of the lead Sauber. Evan in third, and then Jon Palainen fourth, a second off pole position, but he is the leader of the medium runners. If it stays like that with the tyres they have chosen, it could be a very interesting qualifying session. Now, looking at Schnitzel here, about to take his way around the track. Interesting note, he is the only driver so far this season to have finished every race in which he has competed in. He missed the Canadian round, but out of the other 15 races, he managed to finish 15 times. I really hope I'm not putting the commentator's curse on him as I did on Schumacher early on in the season when he had the same fact. But it's been good consistency from Schnitzel so far. Of course, a great podium in Monaco. Managed to hold off Jon Palainen, and he'll be hoping he can get some more good points today. 7th in the championship, but he's pretty close to Professional just behind, and undefined in Hipari also only within a few points, so he'll be hoping to keep that 7th spot. He's gone for the super softs like his teammate, so let's see what he can do through the S's. Still very challenging corners, even with the downforce levels of modern Formula 1 cars. So many changes of direction, you've got to get it absolutely perfect. You're not going to gain tons of time through there, but if you push too hard, guaranteed to lose a hell of a lot. We've already seen Randy Thompson get it wrong, and through the second Degner there, Schnitzel getting quite sideways indeed, just running wide. And I'm pretty fine, Hasnain. Thanks for asking. Hopefully things are going well for you as well. Hopefully you'll be able to get some good lap times in on the medium tyres and help your teammate win the Constructors. As I've already mentioned, the Williams team 113 points ahead of Haas now, so it's going to take a miracle for Geordie on his own to win the title, and even for Professional and Saab behind to do anything about it. So Schnitzel's first competitive lap time with just under 10 minutes to go, I should say, comes across the line, and it is 1:27.8, but it's not counted. So he stays in 13th place. 10 runners so far to set a time. It's Breezy, Geordie, Aaron, Jon Palainen, Pedro, Ibrahim, Hasnain, Undefined, Randy Thompson and Saab. Your top 10 at the moment. Those, as always, will have to start on the tyres that they have qualified on. See some other drivers having a go over now. Ibrahim, fairly new to the championship at the moment, the sole Force India driver here, but Slimbo is hoping he can make it for a race. Ibrahim going around the Somalian. He's done fairly well in one of the first few races, but struggled as of late. Hasn't finished since Hungary. He'll be hoping to add to his point tally and get himself further up the championship order. Has shown flashes of brilliance so far in his short time in the F4 tier here. Hopefully he'll be able to carry that on today. John Polline has decided that he's had enough of those medium tyres. He's now going out onto the softs for a lap, hopefully to gain some time, get closer to Geordie perhaps. Still Joe Breezy who's in front on a 1:27.5. At the moment he's got a half a second gap. Ibrahim just coming to finish his qualifying lap now in the Force India. Can he improve on his 7th position? And is slowing down before the line makes me think that he definitely doesn't want to do that. He's thinking about strategy, maybe changing to the soft tyres at a different point. Hipavi, the Mercedes driver, he's starting his qualifying lap. He's done fairly well this season, but yet to get a podium. Maybe Suzuka will be the chance for him to get his first. Joe Breezy goes even faster. He's up to a 1:27.3. Geordie's also managed to get into the 1:27s now, but the Sauber driver clearly buoyed after his performance 2 weeks ago. Could we see a new winner here in season 16? Would be a bit of a shock. He's only got 19 points so far this season as the American. So it should be a fascinating race if he's at the front of the grid. Mixed grids always make for exciting action, even around a track which isn't the easiest to overtake on. But if you're opportunistic, especially into the hairpin just after the end of the first sector, for Spoon, if you get a good enough run out of that corner as well, 130R if you're feeling brave at the chicane. Of course, DRS down the main straight. Only one DRS zone in action here, and I'd expect in the 2019 season DRS to be a lot more powerful tool. The bigger, wider rear wings and a much bigger DRS flap. So expect to see a bit of tuning by the FIA as they try and get that just right. Jon Palainen here coming to the end of his qualifying lap on the soft tyres. He's got Pedro just behind. Will the Finn be able to improve? Indeed he does. 1:27.6. Second position at the moment, ahead of Geordie. Most importantly, he will be delighted with that. Go back onto Saab, see what he's doing in the Ferrari. He's just starting a lap, I believe. Doesn't have full ERS, so maybe just warm it up to a lap slightly. Was he tactically thinking about a better grid slot? We've seen drivers do well from 11th on the grid this season. It's where Schumacher took his only win from in Hockenheim, I should say. So qualifying not as important as you'd expect it to be, and with the drivers so close to each other in terms of ability, you can do very well from the back of the grid. We've seen Geordie a few races have to come back from being far down in qualifying or having incidents early on in the race, so it's definitely doable. Bit of traffic up ahead of the McLaren, but I can't see that causing too much of an issue. Might even give him a very mild tow down the straight, which will be greatly received, I'm sure, by the Frenchman. Coming into the chicane now, I'm surprised he hasn't gone for full ERS use at any point during this lap, and he's dived into the pits, so perhaps I shouldn't have been too surprised. Schnitzel warming up for his lap. He's the only man not to have set a time, as Schumacher has retired from the session, so he's clearly had an off in Sector 2. Fourth at the moment, but you expect him to tumble down the order as some of the others set a time, so he'll be disappointed. Only 4.5 minutes to go, and he has got a fairly good lap time in, so might still have a decent qualifying slot, but that's not what you want to do. just before the start of a race. You can see the fine throttle control needed through these corners, especially to control the 900 plus horsepower that comes from these modern Formula 1 engines, turbocharged, but no such thing as turbo lag anymore. The electrical energy filling in the gaps where needed. It's tidier through there than last time, but still a bit sideways. He's on the super soft, so he'll be wanting to set a good time. And talking of those, they seem to be the tyres Jompalainen is now going for as well. So is he going all out for glory, the Finnish driver, to try and set a pole position lap time and just win this race from the front? Schnitzel's not thinking about pole position, he's just thinking about getting a clean lap in at the moment. Won't have many more chances after this, in fact if any chances, to get back round and set another lap time, so this could be it for the Dutchman. Steady through the chicane, getting as good of exits as possible, and he's diving into the pit, so he is going to give himself another chance to get one more lap in. So it's Joe Breezy, Jompalainen, Geordie, Evan, Pedro Professional, Ibrahim Apari and Hasnain as we go into the final few laps now of qualifying. See Randy Thompson pushing it hard again through the Dunlop curve. Not as hard as last time, he's managed to keep it facing in the right direction this time, and I'm sure he'll be glad for that. It's not gone fantastically since Canada for the Norwegian driver. No points ever since Belgium, but he'll be hoping for a good performance here. Again, he has shown flashes of speed, and I think the only thing that really separates the top drivers in this tier from those who are a bit lower down in the championship order is that level of consistency. They're all quick on their day, but when you look at Jompalainen and Geordie, Jompalainen scoring points in every race he has finished. Azerbaijan was his last non-score, and he definitely wasn't alone in that. I feel like this is just a build-up lap for Randy Thompson as he gets ready for a final attack in qualifying. Just 2 minutes remaining now. There's only a 132.0, so not ideal, but has he got enough electrical energy to get himself round this lap? Cars coming out of the pit lane now. Pedro and Geordie leaving it very late. Maybe they're happy with the times they've set. Geordie's third at the moment behind his title rival, but is on the better tyres for the race, you'd have to feel. Although I have seen a few drivers say they do find the strategy a bit awkward if they're starting on them soft tyres, and the setup for the car not ideal as well. So 27.3, the fastest time at the moment from Joe Breezy. Jompalainen second, and Geordie's retired from the session as well. We're seeing yellow flags up ahead of where Randy is. Car travelling very slow there, but doing his best he can to get out of the way. So what can the McLaren do? This will be his final lap time, you'd have to imagine. Though we've been building his ERS up, maybe he's got one more left in him. He's just getting used to the tyres. Have to wait and see. Undefined pole sitter last time out before a very weird spin cost him a good chance of some points. What can he do? It's 11th at the moment, so he'll have 3 tyre choice. Going through the corners now. Evan has retired from the session as well as Undefined runs slightly wide through the second part of Spoon. Will that invalidate his lap time? I'm not so sure. Breezy and Jompalainen have not been able to improve on their laps. Qualifying is over. Hipari's finished as well. So will anyone be able to stop the Sauber taking what would be a shock pole position? Very fast through the chicane there, and 128.5. I think he stopped there to try and get free tyre choice. Maybe a wise decision. Professional in the other Ferrari now. He's coming through Spoon as well. Hasnain's 5th at the moment, so I can't imagine anyone's going to be able to knock the top few drivers off their spot now unless they pull out something fantastic. We've seen Pedro have it in him at various points. He's just behind Professional out on track as well. So what can the American do? Can he improve on 10th place on his super soft tyres? And Saab, where has that come from? 126.9. The newbie's got provisional pole position. What a lap that must have been. Professional's gone up to 3rd as well. So I said this championship for the constructors might be over. Stixel up to 2nd as well. They're all pulling it out of the bag at the last minute. We saw quite a lot of changes there, and Ferrari and Sauber keeping themselves to the front 2 rows. Stixel grabbing himself 2nd at the last minute. Professional moving up to 4th, but it's M&T Saab in his first ever race in this tier. Provision takes pole position, could receive a debutant win. Got a fairly big margin to Stixel, 3 tenths between the front row. Breezy just behind, he'll still be happy with 3rd, leading the All-American front row with Professional 4th. The title rivals, Jon Palainen and Geordie 5th and 6th, but they are on the soft tyres, as are Schumacher, Ibrahim and Hasnain. Aaron 10th on the super softs. Then it's Pedro, Hipari, Undefined and Frandy Thompson. Slimbo should be fine to start this race from the back of the grid, so it'll be interesting to see what he does. I know quite a few of you in the chat are big fans of Saab, and I can see why. A fantastic lap time. I said mid to high 126s as would be good enough for pole position, and he's the only guy to get into those 126s. Done very well there. Can he keep it up throughout the race though? 27 laps of what is a challenging circuit, but it will be dry conditions, it looks like, for the race. Drivers just finalising their setups now. Only able to change the front wings, of course, after qualifying, so maybe perhaps just going through their strategies. Changing fuel loads as well. Do they go for a bit less fuel to save the tyres? But no, they'll have to be saving throughout the race. All part of the intricacies of F1 2018 racing. A lot more complex through the first games that I remember playing on the PlayStation 1, where you weren't quite sure if the wheels were round or not. So Saab leads them away on the formation lap. Go through the tyres that everyone is on at the moment. So the top 4 on Super Softs, of course, after they qualified on those. Aaron 10th, he's also on the Super Softs. Everyone else, apart from Hipari in 12th, who is on the mediums, all the other drivers have gone for the soft tyres. So it should be a fascinating race. Different drivers are going to be in different positions. Slimbo's mentioned that he might be struggling slightly due to having issues with his setup. He's only able to get in late, of course, so he could find this quite difficult throughout this race. But he should have plenty of fun back in 15th. Still got a chance of getting some points as long as he keeps it tidy in the first few laps. He's 3rd in the championship at the moment, just 8 points ahead of Schumacher. Pedro's only a further point behind, so there is a very interesting battle for 3rd going on at the moment. Hasnain can get involved as well. He's only 15 points off of Pedro, so he could quite easily get involved in the battle as well. It'll be interesting to see what happens over the course of this 27 lap race. What can Geordie and Jon Palainen do? 5th and 6th on the grid. They'll be wanting to keep it nice and clean. They've got a championship to fight for after all. 16 points separating them. Only 7 metres separating them on the start line, so this could be a fascinating race here in Suzuka. All drivers getting ready to line up on the grid now. Ready for the start of the race. 27 laps around this circuit. Who will be able to do the job here today? Getting ready for the lights to come on. We will be racing in Suzuka. 5 rounds to go. We are racing. It's fairly even start from the front runner. Schnitzel seems to have done slightly better though. He's taking the lead into the first corner. Joe Breezy behind as well. Then Jompalainen, he's moved up as well to 4th position. Geordie in 5th at the moment. So Schnitzel and then Breezy and Professional. Saab dropping down the order. I'm not sure if this is a reoccurrence of the issues we saw in Russia with certain drivers not showing properly. Did come up with a message that he had left the session earlier. I will try and find out as quickly as possible if that is the case. At the moment, Schnitzel is leading, I believe. So Salba 1-2, Professional in 3rd place, and then Jompalainen and Geordie. Evan moving up the order as well, taking advantage of his super soft tyres. He is in 7th at the moment. Seen some battles further down the order. Hasnain's dropped quite a bit back. He's dropping down the order. Does he have damage on his car? Yes, looks like he's missing quite a lot of that front left end plate, so he'll be pitting undoubtedly. Randy Thompson getting quite sideways as well. But out in front, it is Schnitzel, then Joe Breezy. As we come towards the end of lap 1, they're pulling out a bit of a gap from Professional. Jompalainen pretty close to the back of the Ferrari. He's trying to get away from Geordie and take as much of an advantage as possible. Slimbo's got a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane as himself, Hasnain and Randy Thompson pit. So it's quite disappointing start for last week's race winner as Jompalainen is all over the back of Professional. Can he get past the race, the lead Ferrari at the moment? He's trying to catch up to Schnitzel and Breezy, of course, and in all of that, Breezy's managed to get past Schnitzel, so we've had a change at the front of the order. 2 Salvas have swapped around, keeping it nice and clean. Jompalainen in the background trying to go around the outside there of the Ferrari. Does that leave him vulnerable to Geordie? He's just about got it covered off. Will the Haas have a go into Spoon? You feel like he's too far behind, but will the Williams have a go on the Ferrari? No, decides better of it. Professional has ran wide though. He just gets back out ahead of Jompalainen. All this is allowing these to catch up though. And he's got a much better exit in the Williams. And will the Haas be able to get him as well? They're going to be going side by side into 130R. Someone's going to have to back out. And Professional decides to do the best thing. And Geordie is going for the inside of Jompalainen, who I think he thought about it there, but decided discretion is the better part of valour. So DRS will be enabled, of course, on this lap. Breezy in the lead. And Schnitzel, Jompalainen, Geordie, Ibrahim, Pedro, Professional, Hipari, Schumacher, Evan, and Undefined, rounding out those in the points at the moment. Saab down in 12th. I believe he has disconnected from the session, which is a shame for the man who started on pole position. You see the championship battle unfolding right here. Geordie all over the back of Jompalainen. Not going to find it easy to pass around this part. They're both on soft tyres, so you'd have to assume both on the same strategy. So this battle could run and run throughout the race, and you'll imagine in the next few laps they will begin to catch up to the Salbers in front of them. Further down the order, Hipari on the medium tyres doing fairly well at the moment. He's in 7th, just behind Pedro. There's a bit of a gap from the Red Bull to the top 5. There's a queue now. Hipari, Professional, Schumacher, Evan, Undefined, all very close to each other. All started going a bit long for Professional. At the end of that lap, we saw him run wide through Spoon, and that just left him a sitting duck down this straight towards the 130R. But at the end of lap 3, it is Breezy still leading from Schnitzel. But the second Sauber is going to be under all sorts of pressure from Jan Palainen. Sets the fastest lap of the race at the moment, but he's just too far back to attempt an overtake into the first corner. Geordie just behind as well. How long can the Dutchman soak up this pressure and perhaps give his teammate a chance of his first win of the season? And of course it would be Sauber's first win as well. Geordie just behind these. Ibrahim has dropped back slightly. He's now 2 seconds back. Slimbo, fastest lap of the race so far, showing his pace as he hopes to get some points this time around. Professional already getting a time penalty warn for multiple warnings. It's quite easy to do around this track, especially through the Degners. You can easily run wide round there. Jan Palainen just trying to save some electrical energy now, perhaps, for a go into turn 1. He wants to get the best exit possible out of this corner and out of the chicane to give himself a chance of getting free of the Sauber. But we saw in Monaco how great Schnitzel can be at defending, but passing round here is significantly easier, as it is around most tracks in Monaco. Will Jan Palainen have to wait for the DRS zone? Probably will. Schnitzel defending well, gets a fairly good exit out of there, but will it be enough? Schnitzel also has DRS, but I imagine he's going to have to go defensive, forcing Jan Palainen to have to take the outside line, and he's not able to do so. Can't commit himself too much, of course, with Geordie just behind, and all this allows Breezy to just get away slightly, as Evan has retired from the session. We'll try and see whereabouts that has happened. See yellow flags there, and yeah, he's just off at the side of the road. So disappointment for the Renault driver. He is out of the race. Hipari is getting very close now to the back of Pedro for the battle for 6th and 7th. Expect to these won quite a long way into the race, especially Hipari's gone for medium tyres, strategy no one else went for at the start of the race, but now Hasnain and Frandy Thompson have joined them after their early pit stops. We'll have a quick run through the order again. Relatively unchanged apart from Saab's issues, of course. It's Joe Breezy, Schnitzel, Jan Palainen, Geordie, Ibrahim, Pedro, Hipari, Professional, Undefined and Schumacher. Now your top 10 drivers. Schnitzel has managed to get away from Jan Palainen slightly on this lap, and that means the Finn has fallen into the clutches of Geordie. They're both going to have DRS, of course. Will Geordie be able to do anything? I think Jan Palainen just got a much better exit out of the chicane, so nothing happening this time around. But how long will those two Saubers be able to keep those super soft tyres on the go for? That is the big question in this race. Already you can see Schnitzel, I think he's struggling with them a bit more. Breezy has got a 1.7 second lead now over his teammate. Schnitzel just holding these up slightly, you feel. It's allowing Ibrahim to catch up slightly as well. So this could soon be a four-way battle for second position. Got a fairly decent battle going on for 6th as well. Hipari again all over the back of the Red Bull, but just not able to do anything really unless Pedro makes a mistake or you go for a Kobayashi style dive down the inside. We saw him do that a few times during his races here. It was fairly successful for him. He got his only Formula 1 podium here in 2012. Aguri Suzuki, another Japanese driver, to get a podium here in the La Rose in 1990. So it's been a fairly happy hunting ground for the home drivers at the moment. So close, these three now. Will Jan Palainen be able to have a go into chicane? Schnitzel's run very deep there. That's held Jan Palainen up a lot. Is that going to give Lopez a chance of going down the inside? He's got DRS, but Jan Palainen's got the slipstream as well. Geordie now tucking in behind. So close. Will they be able to do anything? It doesn't seem to be gaining much. and just backs out of it in the end. So Schnitzel hanging on by a thread, but that's the last couple of laps we've seen him go deep into the chicane, and that nearly ended up costing himself and Jompalainen a position, and Ibrahim must be sitting behind these, maybe hoping that there's a slight bit of contact because it could enable him to move his way up the order. He is catching up now, but Breezy with a 2.4 second lead as we go on to lap 7 of this race. Only one retirement so far, and that is Evan, but Sab has left the session, of course, so you'd have to imagine he's getting nil points from this race. Jompalainen is all over the back of Schnitzel. You have to imagine it is just a matter of time. Is he going to try and go around the outside at Spoon? That's going to be a very brave move if he can pull it off. He's forced wide slightly. Schnitzel well within his rights to do that, but has that compromise for Sauber driver's exit? We saw him getting a lot of wheel spin there. Side by side through 130R. Schnitzel does have some fantastic straight line speed though, and he's just hold off as he's ran wide there. Is Jordy going to have a go? Jompalainen going round the outside at the chicane. Fantastic move. He will be in second place, and will he have DRS as well? Schnitzel pitting actually, and Ibrahim. So Ibrahim pitting quite early on those soft tyres. Can't say I'm surprised to see Schnitzel pitting, of course. Now the battle between the title rivals, they've got no one else involved. They're in second place at the moment. Breezy 4 seconds up the road. Be interested to see how much these two can catch up, if indeed they can, as the Americans' tyres out in front begin to wear. Schnitzel and Ibrahim both going for medium tyres, coming out in 9th and 10th place at the moment, and the Force India right behind that second Sauber at the moment in the lower points positions. Drivers still to pit, the top 8 all to pit. We saw Slimbo, Hasnain and Brandy Thompson pit early on after being involved in an incident. I will try and find out what caused that. It has been quite a lively start to this Japanese Grand Prix, and now that Jompalainen has a bit of freedom, he's reeling in the Sauber. He's caught up about a second on this lap. Can't imagine it being too long now before Joe pits if he's losing that sort of time. Geordie's going to have DRS. That's going to help him just keep ahead, keep in touch with Jompalainen as Breezy does pit. So the race leader pits, qualified in 3rd place, his best qualifying of the season so far. What will he be able to do? He moves on to the soft tyres as Ibrahim's retired. Oh, we saw him doing quite well to keep up with Schnitzel. We see a bit of Force India damage there. It looks like he's got it wrong at the exit of 130R. Will that cause a virtual or even a full safety car? Professional, he's also pitted after starting on those super softs. He's now gone out on to the mediums and comes out just ahead of Slimbo. So it is now Jompalainen and Geordie in front in this race. Pedro 3rd, quite a way behind, and then Hapari, Undefined, Schumacher. Breezy still ahead of Schnitzel after the stops, and then Professional and Slimbo. Hasnain, Brandy Thompson and Saab the other runners, with Ibrahim and Aaron having crashed out. 19 laps remaining. We're about a third of the way through this Japanese Grand Prix. Jompalainen has got Saab's car to deal with. As Saab's gone straight on at the 130R. I wonder if there was any contact there with Jompalainen. Saab, of course, having rejoined the session, he's gone straight off into the wall, and Jompalainen's pitting, as is Geordie as well. Oh, Jompalainen's got a penalty for speeding under the virtual safety car. Well, a drive-through penalty. That surely is going to hand the win to Geordie or Breezy, you feel. Big events in the title battle here, and under virtual safety car, of course, that's going to give these two a big advantage in the pit lane. Well, they're coming out a long way ahead of Joe Breezy. Jon Palainen is indeed. Geordie has fallen behind as the virtual safety car ends now. So Jon Palainen, he's going to have to push like crazy. He does have a drive-through penalty. If he doesn't serve it, it will be added to his race time. But he can appeal it in the stewards, and I definitely imagine he will be doing so. Did seem quite harsh, I must say. So it's now Hapari in the lead of this race. Undefined just behind as we watch these two Finns battling it out for first and second. It's an all-Finnish podium with Jon Palainen third as well. Breezy's come out fourth after the pit stops. He's on the softs while those in front are on the medium, so you'd imagine he might be going for a two-stop strategy, the Sauber. And then it's Schnitzel, Geordie behind in fifth, and then Schnitzel, Pedro, Schumacher, Professional, Hasnain, Thompson and Slimbo. Your remaining runners, just 12 of the 15 starters left, so a good chance for most of the drivers to get points today. Undefined doing quite well on those soft tyres to keep them lasting so far, but he's had, oh, I thought he was heading towards the pits then. Quite a bit of a dummy there. He's got DRS. Hapari going defensive fairly early, and I'm not sure there's any need for that. Quite a long way ahead of his compatriot, so not really necessary to do that. And I am surprised that Geordie didn't gain more out of that virtual safety car period. He's 3 seconds behind Jon Palainen when he was right behind coming out of the coming into the virtual safety car period, I should say. And he has dropped behind Joe Breezy, so you've got to imagine Joe was pushing that delta to the absolute limit to try and retain his position. He was leading, of course, before the pit stop, before that very strange crash featuring Saab. Not sure if there was any contact involved, desync related possibly, who knows, but it's not turned out well for the Ferrari team so far. Both drivers in the top 4 in qualifying. One is in the barrier, and the other one, Professional, down in 9th place at the moment. Go on board with Geordie. He must be hoping for good things. He's on the medium tyres, according to the graphic. So you'd have to imagine he can go to the end on those now. No more pit stops. Same for Jon Palainen, whereas Breezy ahead, he's going to have to push everything out of his tyres, I feel, to get a good result out of this race. They are catching up to the lead duo, of course, and Jon Palainen, you can see how hard he's pushing after his penalty. 1:31.1. The fastest lap of the race, instantly beaten by Joe Breezy in the Sauber. It's looking like to be in the best race of the season so far for Sauber. One car in 4th, one car in 6th at the moment. They are 8th in the Constructors' Championship, so maybe this can help them catch up to the battle for 5th between Force India, Red Bull and Toro Rosso. 40 points ahead of them. It's a big ask, but more races like this would definitely be helpful. So Hapari and Undefined, your front two. The only two drivers yet to have pitted so far. Jon Palainen in 3rd with the threat of a drive-through penalty over him. And then this battle for 4th place between the two Americans. Joe Breezy ahead in the Sauber, and then Geordie 16 points for gap to Jon Palainen at the start of this race in the championship. If it stays as it is, that gap would be growing to 21, but with the penalty hanging over Jon Palainen, got to imagine Geordie will be desperate to dispatch his compatriot in the Sauber as quickly as possible and catch up to the Finn. Give himself a great chance of winning this race potentially. Not really many battles further down the order. Jon Palainen's pitting and going for his drive-through penalty now. So Jon Palainen has pitted. As he served that penalty, he will not be able to appeal it, of course, so we're going to see where he comes out. Should be ahead of Pedro, I imagine, although it might be pretty close to the Red Bull at the end. So Jon Palainen comes out in 6th place, just. And as easy as that, I said Jon Palainen was looking at a 21-point lead at the end of this race. He's now looking at a 12 point lead. So how long can Hapavi and Undefined out in front keep their tyres running? Undefined has gone quite a long way further than anyone else. 12 laps on those soft tyres. He does seem fairly good at managing the temperatures, and we saw him take a win at possibly the track where it's most important to manage them in Singapore, of course. Got a podium as well in Germany, so he'll be hoping for another podium here today. He is catching Hapavi slightly, even though you'd expect Hapavi to have much more durable tyres and therefore much more pace at this point in the race. We're nearly at halfway now. Both drivers locking up into the chicane. They are pushing as hard as possible. There's Vittorio Rosso and Geordie has a 5-second stop-go penalty for exceeding track limits. Well, that will be applied at the end of the race, of course, if he does not take it. So perhaps some solace there for Jon Palainen. Both championship contenders getting penalties at the moment. This could be very interesting indeed. Lap 14, it's Hapavi in the lead, Undefined second. But the real battle for the lead is here. Joe Breezy having pitted, as has Geordie. Third and fourth at the moment. Schnitzel led at the start of the race before getting passed by his teammates. He's now in fifth. Jon Palainen comes out in sixth after his stop-go penalty. How far up the order will he be able to get? Then Pedro Schumacher, a professional, and Hasnain, the top 10. Thompson and Slembo outside the points, and Ibrahim, Saab and Aaron all crashing out in the early stages. Geordie getting very close to the back of the Sauber. Won't be able to get a cigarette paper between the two of them round there. Exceptionally close and fairly risky if the driver in front brakes earlier than you're expecting. Geordie does seem to have a lot more pace at the moment. He's pretty much exhausted his ERS as he turns it right down to get the most possible use of it down this straight, perhaps. Will he have a go into the first corner for the lead? Hapavi pits from the medium tyres, so not going as far as I would have expected on those. Perhaps feels for softs, suiting better on a lighter fuel load. Undefined still going, of course. Where will the Mercedes come out? Behind the Jon Palainen Pedro battle, so that's another place gained for the championship leader at the moment. We'll go back to Geordie. Still extremely close to the back of the Sauber. He knows he's got a penalty looming as well. I can't imagine Joe Breezy knows that, so he's just defending for his life here. But the further he keeps him behind for, you'd imagine the better chance he's got of finishing ahead of him at the end of the race. Although, as I mentioned, I expect Joe to have to pit again. Can't see him making those soft tyres last 18 laps. Although Undefined's doing a good job, he's going to make them last at least 15 so far in the Toro Rosso in the lead, but his lap times aren't fantastic. He is being caught by this pair, as you would expect. Is he going to have a run into 130R? He's definitely catching. But I think he's just too far behind. Breezy's got the inside line into the chicane. Will Geordie be able to do anything round the outside? He's going to try and hold it off. Breezy gives him space. Very fair racing, and Geordie is up into second, I say. Joe Breezy got a good exit. Geordie has DRS. He's running out of ERS. Will he be able to do it round the outside into the first curve? Just about manages it. Joe fought hard there. I said it was done, but I wrote off the Sauber driver too early, and I think it's safe to say now Geordie has completed the manoeuvre. He is up to second position and the race lead when Undefined pits. Although if he manages to last any longer, that Toro Rosso driver, you imagine he might be able to come out onto the super soft tyres, and that will be very exciting at the end of the race. Expect him to come out just behind Hapavi now if he does pit. So he won't want to leave it too long, otherwise he'll drop behind the second Mercedes of Schumacher. But should be interesting to see what strategy Undefined goes for now. So Geordie's managed to get himself up to second. He's already pulled out 8 temps on Vasalbert. Schnitzel's about 10 seconds further behind. Will Jompalainen be able to catch up? He's dragging Pedro with him. Pedro didn't seem to have a lot of pace on the soft tyres, and he did mention in chat earlier that he was struggling with setup on the soft and with qualifying, so perhaps it doesn't feel like these tyres suit his setup around this track and he's more comfortable on those mediums, and that definitely seems to be the case so far. Undefined still not pitting. 17 laps it will be at least by the time he comes in the Toro Rosso. 3-second lead over Geordie. Breezy hanging on to the back of his compatriot now. The Sauber, 6th place in Russia he managed to move himself ahead of Senna in the championship with that, and a result like this at the moment would move him even further up, nearly double his tally for the season. If it stays as it is, of course, with Geordie's penalty, that would double his nearly, yes, it would have gone well over double nearly. 19 he's on at the moment, 37 it would put him to just under double, I should say. My maths A level failing me quite badly there. He's not going to be thinking about that. All he can concentrate on is driving and doing the best job possible, trying to keep in touch with Geordie, maybe using the slipstream to just try and save his tyres a bit more and gain time on the straights. Although they're both gaining heaps of time over Undefined now, I believe, is coming in this lap in the Toro Rosso. So we'll see the race leader change now. Undefined still not coming in. Proving me wrong there. So he's done a fantastic achievement. Consider some on those soft tyres were pitting after lap 8 or 9. He's on 18 at the moment, but it's got to be soon, you imagine. And he will be going to the super soft tyres, of course. No sense going to the mediums now. You do have to use 2 different compounds of tyres, as always, in the dry. Ipari sets the fastest lap, 1:30.6. He is catching the Jompalainen and Pedro battle. He is on soft tyres, so that could get very interesting for 5th place and potentially 4th place as they catch Schnitzel up in the Sauber as well. I was mentioning Joe Breezy could get 2nd place. He's got himself a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. Not sure whether that is his only one in this race, but if it is, he'd still be doing enough at the moment to finish ahead of Geordie and potentially take the win if he can get those soft tyres to last. All he needs to do is look at what Undefined is doing. Geordie catching up now. He's less than a second off the lead. You'll imagine it'll be changing any minute soon. 2/3 of the way through the race. As it stands, Geordie will be halving the championship lead of Jompalainen. It'll be down to 8 points going into the 2 American rounds. Undefined does pit now. Breezy has DRS, as does Geordie off the Toro Rosso, of course, so that's a change for the lead. Geordie takes the lead on the Japanese Grand Prix with 9 laps to go. Joe Breezy in 2nd. Schnitzel will be 3rd after the pit stops. I imagine Undefined's going to come out just ahead of Schumacher in 7th position, but he will be very, very lively in these final few laps. 12 runners still remaining. We saw Ibrahim crash out at the exit of 130R and MNT crash out at the start of 130R, and Evan also retiring in the early stages of this race. The battle for the final podium slot now. 3 cars involved at the moment, with Ipari just behind, pushing hard as that penalty shows. So what can Jompalainen do? Can he get onto the podium? Half a second behind Schnitzel. Early on in this race we saw him battle hard to get past the Sauber driver. He's going to have to give it another go. And once again, he can't go all out committing with cars behind him. Can't afford to risk it for the championship either. From the constructors, it is looking pretty good still for Williams, standing to get 13 points at the moment. Haas would gain slightly, but you'd imagine with 4 rounds to go, it's not really enough to make a serious dent into the lead. Schnitzel again locking up and getting slightly deep into the chicane. That's cost him quite dearly. There's a contact there between Pedro and Jompalainen. Pedro's going to have a go down the inside. He finds himself blocked by Schnitzel. That forces Jompalainen wide. Pedro's managed to get past a pair of them, has he? Fantastic from the Red Bull. Not sure if there was a bit of contact, and it's... Oh, Jompalainen didn't have the racing line there, and Schnitzel just gently forcing him off. So that's worked out fantastically for the Red Bull. He is up to 3rd place, and all this means is that Apari is going to have caught up slightly. Slimbo also getting a 5-second penalty for exceeding track limits, so a bit of a nightmare for the Force India driver after missing qualifying. He was hoping for a good end to the season after the last race in Russia, but it's not to be this time here in Japan. Well, Jompalainen will be wanting to get past Schnitzel pretty sharply. Sipari has more pace in him at the moment on those soft tyres, and Pedro, you imagine, will just begin to pull away from the Dutchman as well. So if the Finn wants to get on the podium and limit the damage that Geordie is going to do, the American a second ahead at the moment, but I believe not counting penalties, Breezy would be race winner at the moment. Quite a bit further back this time, Geordie, as Pedro goes deep into the chicane this time. Will that give Schnitzel a chance in the Sauber to get that position back? He's going to have DRS, as will Jompalainen. Just a bit too far back perhaps to give it a go into turn 1. Undefined setting the fastest lap with a race of 1:30.2. I thought Jompalainen ran a bit wide there. Camera playing tricks. But Undefined setting the fastest lap. He could soon find himself on the back of this battle as well. Out in front, Geordie now has a 1.2 second lead over Joe Breezy. Importantly, he has broken DRS. Slimbo gets himself another stop-go penalty for exceeding track limits. He's got himself up into the points at the moment, but he won't stay there if he gets too many of them. DeFrandy Thompson and Professional have both pitted. That drops them outside the points. Joe Breezy's just got to keep himself calm here. He can get his best result of the season. Have to imagine he's going to the end. He's not going to gain anything from pitting now. He's managing to make these soft tyres last a long way. But if he can stay within 2 seconds, I believe he will be the race winner. Just going to have a quick look at that. Yep, only 1 penalty so far for the Sauber driver. The other Sauber driver finding himself under a lot of pressure from Jompalainen once again. Hipari has caught right up onto the back of this in the Mercedes, and Jompalainen just doesn't seem to be able to get a better exit than Schnitzel on that corner. Well, enough of an exit to get alongside anyway, and that's allowed Pedro to escape and Schnitzel to stay safe for another lap. Is the Williams driver going to risk it enough to try and get some extra points this season? Seen a yellow flag in Sector 2. Not sure who that could be for at the moment. I'd imagine it's Frandy Thompson or Professional. Perhaps Professional just slowing out the way as the locking up there. Does the Ferrari have damage? It's not gone well for him. 12th place at the moment. Yeah, indeed, does have quite a lot of damage on that front wing. So a bit of a nightmare for the Ferrari team. Looked so good for them, and you'd have to imagine this is their Constructors' Championship over. Jompalainen again all over the back of Schnitzel. Is he going to try it round the outside of Spoon? We saw this earlier on. Decides not to do it. Is Apari going to try it up the inside at the last minute? Jompalainen running very wide there, and that is going to give the Mercedes a fantastic chance up the hill. They're going to be side by side into 130R. Who will blink first? Jompalainen backs out of it, and Hapari gets himself up into 5th position on the road. And a couple of laps ago, it looked like Jompalainen was a shoe-in for a podium. He finds himself down in 6th, and with 5 laps to go still. You'd imagine Undefined will close that gap as well. Will Hapari be able to get past Schnitzel? Round the outside into the first turn. Schnitzel holds on as much as he dares, and he's managed to do well enough to stay in 4th at the moment, and that's allowed Jompalainen to close up slightly. And all this battling, of course, means Pedro has escaped these. He's nearly 3 seconds ahead now. So you'd imagine he's safe to get a podium in this race so far. Further down the order, it's contact. Slight contact there between Schnitzel and Hapari, but I believe they've both got away with it. And will that allow Jompalainen to have a go into the hairpin? Just finds the gap closed off. Doesn't want to stay too close to this, you'd imagine, without being certain he can make a move. Doesn't want to get himself caught up in any contact. Says as it is, he would have the championship lead, but that could all change if he loses a front wing and finds himself forced to pit or even retire from this race. It's in the slipstream now of Hapari, who's going slightly defensive into 130R. Will that compromise him? Will that allow Jompalainen to have a go down the inside? Just too far back. Both these will have DRS, of course. And again, Jompalainen just doesn't seem to be able to get as good of an exit through there as those ahead of him. Hapari now, he's trying to go around the outside into the first turn again on Schnitzel. Didn't work last time. They've got a lapped car up ahead of Professional. This could all get very tasty. Professional staying out of the way. Is Hapari going to have a go through the S's? It's a brave move if he'd have pulled it off, but not quite able to do so. Would have been extremely opportunistic. Jompalainen not able to gain as well. And Undefined's just a second behind as well. This is going to get oh so more lively in the closing stages. Geordie has got now 2 seconds ahead of Joe Breezy, so I believe that'll be enough for him to stay ahead after penalties are applied. Is Hapari going to have a go into the hairpin? No, he locks up, Schnitzel locks up. Jompalainen behind as well. Undefined definitely part of this battle now, as Professional has retired from the session, leaving just 11 runners now, so a double retirement for the Scuderia, the nail in the coffin of their Constructors' Championship hopes, you'd have to imagine. What will happen with this battle though? 4th place at the moment. Schnitzel, Hapari, Jompalainen and Undefined, nearly all in one camera shot. Undefined's got Jompalainen's got the inside into the chicane, I should say. Hapari defends on the exit. Oh, he's skidded, he's off! The Mercedes driver's lost it. Round he goes, he's down to 7th. Don't think there was any contact. Jompalainen's stayed in 5th. That's allowed Schnitzel to get away slightly with 3 laps to go. So Hapari drops down to 7th, just ahead of his teammate. That was crucial, of course, because as it stood, Jompalainen would have dropped behind Geordie in the championship, but he's turned that live 1 point deficit into a 1 point advantage. Can he now get past Schnitzel now that he's got a slight bit of breathing space behind? Undefined has dropped back slightly. He has a lot of damage on his front wing. So will he try and just hold it off until the end, or will he be forced to pit? Should be able to hold off, I imagine. Hapari and Schumacher might get in, but I feel like he'd be safe from Hasdane, who has managed 23 laps on those mediums. You can see how wide Undefined is having to go now. I think Jompalainen came out of it unscathed though. 1.3 seconds the gap to Schnitzel now. He's got slightly fresher tyres, has the thin. Can he get himself up into 4th place? The leaders are now on their penultimate lap. So it's now or never, you feel, for Jompalainen if he wants to get himself up as he passes the debris of the Ibrahim incident earlier. Didn't quite see where Undefined picked up his damage. Not sure if it was on the back of Jompalainen with a fin being forced to brake to avoid Hapari's spinning car, or if Hapari just was clipped by the Toro Rosso driver. But that's all in the past now, and Jompalainen's got back within that all-important second to keep DRS open at the end of this lap. As in Monaco, he has found it extremely difficult to get past Schnitzel. Will he be able to do anything with just 1.5 laps to go? Hipari manages to stream around the outside of Undefined, who is struggling a lot with damage. Quite heavy damage on the Toro Rosso. You'd imagine that's going to allow Schumacher to get ahead as well, get himself up into 7th position. Down the inside, contact. Not sure if Schumacher realises Undefined has damage, because they've got to be a bit careful passing an injured car, of course. These two uninjured, ready to go. Jordi is on his final lap. Will Jon Palainen be able to do anything about it? Is he going to have a move into the chicane? It's too far back. He's leaving it all into getting a good exit through there. Both struggling to put the power down as their tyres get worn out, but he's a lot closer than he has been, and Schnitzel's having to go very defensive. DRS open on the Williams. He's going to have to do it the long way round, and he's just about done so, I believe. He's going to have the inside into the next corner in the S's. Can Schnitzel hold on? Still going side by side. It's amazing how they're managing to not touch, and Schnitzel somehow still comes out of it ahead. So the opportunities are running out. You'd imagine he's only got a couple more chances. This hairpin being one, and the chicane possibly into Spoon if he gets lucky. He's not able to do so through there. Jordi's about to come through 130R to head towards the end of this race. Will Jon Palainen be able to do anything here? He will not. So Jordi rounds the final corner to take victory here today. But what will... Oh, of course he's got the toss, stop and go. And yeah, road drop behind Breezy. Got myself excited there. Will Jon Palainen be able to get past Schnitzel? Breeze is in second, and he's just too far back. He's gone for a very late move. Schnitzel braking late as well, but I think he will have held off. We'll have to see if penalties will affect this, of course. So Pedro in third, Schnitzel fourth, Jon Palainen fifth. Just enough to retain the championship lead, but how it could have been so different if it wasn't for that drive-through penalty. Hipari in sixth. Schumacher in... Oh, Schumacher 6th for Hipari, 7th after penalties. Undefined and Hasnain come across 8th and 9th. Slimbo does have a wealth of penalties to be applied at the end of this race, but I imagine he has got enough to still stay ahead of Randy Thompson. So it is 10th for Slimbo in the Force India. He will be the final points finisher, with Randy Thompson just about to head towards the line. 11th and last, but well done indeed for sticking to the end in what has been a challenging race. One man who didn't find it that challenging though, Joaquin Jordi, takes another win in the championship, his 6th of the season, and that has made it very, very interesting in the championship. Jon Palainen only able to finish 5th, of course. Fantastic job by Breezy to get 2nd place. Pedro 3rd as well. Another podium for the Red Bull driver. His 6th for the season. Can he get a first win before the end? 6 podiums for Pedro. 6 wins now for Jordi, as he takes victorious in round 17 here in Japan. Earning myself some nice XP for commentating there. An American 1-2 with Jordi first and Breezy second. Pedro in third. Schnitzel, good job from him as well to take 4th. Jon Palainen will be disappointed, I feel, with 5th place. Schumacher in 6th. Hipari 7th. Undefined 8th. Hasnain finishing 9th. Slimbo 10th, doing what he could after having issues at the start of the race. Randy Thompson 11th and the last finisher. Professional retired after struggling throughout. Ibrahim, we saw the end of his accident. Saab, pole sitter, got disconnected early on and then crashed out at 130R. And Aaron also crashing out early on. What that means for the championship, of course, is that Jompalainen now has just a 1 point lead with 4 rounds to go. It's getting very, very interesting for that. We'll see the results mean Pedro will have moved up as well to 3rd in the championship with that 3rd place in the battle to be best of the rest for this season. I must say, a fantastic job from Geordie to take the win, keeping it cool after he knew he had that penalty. But also from both Sauber drivers. Breezy, 2nd position. He got his best finish prior to that was Russia last time out in 6th. A huge improvement from him today. He will be delighted with 2nd. Pedro happy with his turnaround as well to manage finish in 3rd position, despite not looking like to have a lot of pace at the start of the race. Be interesting to see if, because there were quite a few incidents, it'll be interesting to see if any of those go to the stewards before next time out. In America, we have just 4 rounds to go, and there is action all the way to the end of the season. The next 4 weeks will decide the destination of this Tier 4 PlayStation 4 title. Thank you all so much for watching as the title race takes another turn here around Suzuka. The land of the rising sun and Jompalainen's title advantage has fallen. Thank you and good night.